Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my first and possibly and most likely the last Q&A you're ever gonna see on my channel. Let's get to work. The first comment is actually not a question, but it came from Nodi, and this is text of the only song I have composed so far. If you are interested in listening, I'm leaving a link to my music channel in the description below. You can check it out and subscribe. I would really approve that. Here we go with questions from Wedge. Will you make tournaments in Battlefront 2 if they add private servers or any new Star Wars game? No, I'm not gonna host tournaments in any other Star Wars game than Battlefront 2015 because, well, I don't really enjoy any new games in Star Wars. Why musical school? Well, it was actually my parents' decision made like 13 years ago. They basically forced me to go to music school because rather nobody normal wants to go to music school, considering that it's almost like a torture at the very beginning. When you see like all other children going home on Friday evening and playing football while you have to stay at music school till like 8 p.m. and when you come home you have to practice anyways, so basically you have no time for any other things than music basically. And yeah, it's kind of tradition in my family that, well, everyone from my generation was forced to go to music school, so that's it. I decided to continue it in the second grade of music school, and I will attempt to join a music academy in Katowice this year, because I find myself pretty good at music, especially compared to like other people who are also learning things in this direction. And well, I want to live with music forever. Do you like punk rock? No, every kind of punk is trash. What games do you play other than Battlefront and Minecraft? Well, first of all, I have never played Minecraft, and I used to play a bit of Civilization, Star Wars Empire at War. I like very old games like the first version of Prince of Persia or Centurion, also Civilization 1, and probably FIFA. FIFA, yeah, that's it. Do you know what Stargate is? No. Now we have a lot of questions from Holdy BF4. Can you do a room tour? Okay. Welcome to my room. This is my extremely messy bed. Like everything in this room, everything is messy here. And this is desk with the entire PC equipment. Actually, PC used to be downstairs, but I moved it to my room like 2 weeks ago because it was standing in the same room as the acoustic piano. And when my both sisters were practicing, I couldn't focus on doing anything else, and not just playing Battlefront, but also doing transcriptions or recording music. So yeah, I had to move PC to my room. So here you can see my mouse, which is almost 4 years old now, and it's not really a world wonder. The keyboard, I could say literally everything the same about it. Those headphones are actually good. On the other hand, those headphones are not, and I use them just on my neck to talk to microphone. Here is very important and useful device, which is interface, used mainly for recording music, but I also use it as the main sound device when playing Battlefront and literally doing anything on PC. Here's the PC itself, my messy wardrobe. Here goes the probably the worst keyboard in my home, but it's rather used for recording stuff and writing music in the music programs. Here's some notes. Here are more notes, even more notes, more and more notes. This is of course my violin, one of the most useful devices in my house, and you may not be able to see it, but it's an armchair which is covered with multiple things. Here is the best instrument in this house, I believe. which is Kurzweil, an electric piano. And here are another notes, just standard, you must believe in spring. And this is some Star Destroyer, New Order Star Destroyer, and I think it should be removed from this room because I'm not fan of sequels. And that's it.
Do you have a girlfriend? If so, show some pictures of you two. No, I don't. That was easy question. Are you heading for a career inside music? Yes, I do. This is basically why I practice a lot. Like I spend doing this few hours daily. But it's not like a typical career of pop star, because to be a pop star you most importantly need to have a good look and a lot of luck to be noticed by someone else who is important, and I don't have any of those things. I mean, look and luck, as I'm not too handsome. But I'm gonna earn money from music for sure in future. I'm rather planning to be a composer and arranger, and my favorite job would be being a band leader, like behind another star. So, you know, for example, I don't know, Ariana Grande is touring and she has some band behind her, and I would love to be a member of such a band. We'll see if it works out. Do you like violin or piano the most? I'm far better violinist than pianist, but I think that if you want to be a complete musician and have this knowledge of harmony and stuff, you have to know pretty well how to play piano as well, because without it, you are like a, you know, blind musician. You don't know what you are playing. So I think both instruments are very important and both could be very useful in composing music. What's your best experience with Battlefront 2.15? Well, I think my best experience is the competitive community itself. And I don't mean that I like all the people, because I don't, but I generally enjoy the dirty stuff going on here, like, you know, when someone is extremely salty, when people are accusing your teammates of cheating, when you have to fight for something, when someone is overconfident, and when he gets his ass kicked, it's like a total punishment for that person. I always enjoyed this stuff, and if there were only public lobbies in the game, I would certainly quit it right in 2.16. What do you miss? Well, I miss the old times in general. I miss many old players who left the game too early, in my opinion, and they might still be good in this game. I also miss the old style in general, like playing cargo, like setting up tactics before the game, you know, learning new things, meeting new people, and trying to improve together with them back then when team play still mattered, because now it probably doesn't. And yeah, I may sound like quite a Battlefront boomer, but in general, I think that now it's just you turn on the game, they invite you to drop zone pack on Dune Sea, and if you are not good with E3 and don't have good aim, you cannot replace those two skills with anything else, basically. So yeah, the game became quite a routine. There's just two elements that matter, basically, and it's just boring. But I think it's possible to fix, and I feel sad that the new generation Battlefront players didn't taste the Battlefront of 2016, 2017, even 2018, when more things than just burst fire and aim had a meaning in the game. Who is the most annoying guy you faced in Battlefront? Well, there are many people who could be considered as annoying in Battlefront, but I think that without those people, I would have stopped playing and generally participating in Battlefront community very long time ago. And one of my favorite activities in Battlefront is not just playing itself, but proving those annoying people wrong. Because to me, those annoying people are usually, well, stupid, salty, and generally their attitude doesn't allow you to have a civilized discussion with them. And there were many people like that. I don't know, we could mention Machigani here. Wow, that's definitely someone who is annoying, but I actually love people like this. Without him, Battlefront would never be that fun. Um, I don't know who else could be annoying. Well, if someone was on my place, he could say that Benny was annoying because at some point he was a bit obsessed with uh, me and generally Power Rangers and all my teams. But to me, it wasn't really annoying. It was fun because, I have some kind of hobby, which is annoying the annoying people. And yeah, it's hard to find answer for that one. However, there is one person that definitely deserves a mention in this category, and it would be Bielasinho. I think he needs to be mentioned because his actions were not just annoying, but caused something that couldn't be fixed anymore, and I think nobody apart from Park, Maggie, Johnny, and the other New Order members, nobody apart from them got any benefits from Bill's actions. What game do you like the most? Star Wars Battlefront 2015. Oh, you probably predicted the answer. What do you like about Battlefront compared to other competitive games? Well, first of all, I don't really play other games competitively. I just like that it's fast paced, that team play matters here, as long as you are playing something else than drop zone on UNC. And also I like that it's Star Wars because I'm a huge Star Wars fan myself, so that's the main reason why I bought this game at first. How good would Phalanges and Spatty be if they continued to today? Well, they would be good, but they certainly wouldn't be on top of the community anymore, and I doubt they would even get to top 15 world players. Here's the reason why. Back in 2016, they were completely epic compared to rest of the community. But the reason why is not their incredible skills, but how rest of the community was learning the game slowly. You can watch any of Spatty's tournament gameplays from 2016 and you'll notice that movements of the opponent teams are just completely terrible. Like Battlefront in 2016 was in 3 times lower level than it is now. Average team from 2020 would beat top team from 2016, and I'm pretty sure of that. You could notice a slow mech downfall in 2017. The last tournament mech won was the Enten cargo tournament, and already in that one you could see Spatty and Phalanges struggling in offense against Krisax and FS Force. Those were not like top players that are remembered till today, but they were able to handle this epic duo only with 2 people. And after that tournament, Mech didn't win any single competition, even though they played in like 3, and Spatty played all matches. Phalanges was also sometimes arriving for the games. And the main reason why they couldn't win anymore was the fact that players who already were in the community in 2016 learned to play the game at least on decent level, and in 2017 many extremely talented players who learned the game quickly arrived in the community, which is you, which is Techki, and which is Nutcracker, for example. So it simply verified the actual mech skills, and we can only see it now because back in 2017 we all thought like, oh, they are not good anymore. No, that's not it. Simply other people learned to play the Battlefront, and this is why in 2020 the level of Battlefront is like 3 times higher than it used to be when Mech featuring Spatty and Phalanges were still playing. An average team from 2020, like I don't know, QI, would defeat Mech from 2016, and I'm pretty sure of that. I could bet all my money for it. So that's my answer for this question. They would be good, but definitely not on top anymore. What's your dream team in Battlefront history? Well, it's definitely myself, Fury, Howdy, and Techki because it's the first such a strong team I have ever played for, and it's team I created myself, and it's a team I'm very proud of, and I can play with that squad anytime, any day. So yeah, that's my dream team for sure. Would this team beat Power Rangers? I think this match would finish with a draw. What made Power Rangers so good? I think the most important element here was the moment when I started to gather players for this team together. It was first time when I didn't only look at players' skill and community reputation, but I was mostly verifying whether people I'm inviting to that team are smart, intelligent, and if they will not bring any shame to the rest of the community. And of course, here I'm not saying that skill was not important when creating that team. Of course not. When you are joining Power Rangers, you are already third best player in the world and still with a lot of potential because it took you like 2 months to become the best player in the world, at least in my opinion, and I think many people would share this opinion. Also, important thing was that this team was created with brain. In 2017, Cargo was on top. People enjoyed team play, enjoyed thinking in game, not like nowadays, and people enjoyed strategy in general. So there was team spirit required in every team if you wanted to achieve something in the game. Also, when inviting people to play with Power Rangers, I was thinking about what position each player would take. For example, when I first met Techki in Park, I already knew it will be hell of a defender, and I wasn't wrong at all. I also knew who would be my partner in offense, so everything was planned. It wasn't like a random gathering of 4 good players. No, that was definitely not the point. And well, if in 2017 you just recruited 4 good players to your team, you wouldn't win a tournament because there was something else required. Like I said, the team play, the tactic, and most importantly, the team spirit we definitely built inside Power Rangers, and I think it's a team with a very good atmosphere inside the clan, like nowhere else. At least I think so. How are you able to recruit so many amazing players nobody had heard of before? Well, in case you think about yourself and Techki, I think this was just a pure luck. Both of those players were invited to packs where they performed incredibly well, and I immediately knew that those are going to be my future teammates. Of course, those are not the only amazing players I have recruited to the community in general, because I often used to recruit players with huge potential to teams like Astrowork Esports, like Wimk, in order to give them a chance of developing. And I think I have some kind of predispositions to discover players with a huge amount of talent and willingness to get better at the game, and I think I just can see when a decent player can be trained into someone much better. There are still many people in the community that I encourage to start playing Battlefront competitively, like Patton, Aleko, Ezi, Avci, Kulawy, but I think that nowadays, in 2020, the scouting skills are kinda useless, because now, even if you discover an unknown player with impressive skills or at least a big talent who can learn the game quickly, they will most likely say it's a Smurf anyways, and they will ban him or ban him for cheating, because I noticed that players nowadays are sometimes too convinced that their skills are superior to others who have never played tournaments, and this is not always true. Which one did you look for the most, skills or attitude? Well, it depends. If I was recruiting someone to my team, I always took a big care of attitude. That's, for example, why Strix has never joined our team. But if I was recruiting someone to the community in general, I was just looking at the skill and potential. Do you think players with high level of discipline is what Klopp always searches for, and that is the key to his success? I think that's not the only key to his success. I think he's also an excellent strategist and tactician. But I guess, yes, he probably takes care of high level of discipline because Klopp's teams are known for a big level of discipline. I guess, yes. I'm asking this for science, boobs or us? Boobs. Just one simple question, why the fuck do you still bother? Well, I think there is still something I have to prove to some people in the community, and there is still something I haven't achieved in this game in general. But also now it's quarantine, so that's the way I found some free time to start playing Battlefront again, and I actually like it. Well, we all know that a lot of people were involved in smurfing action, though you are the only one, or almost the only one, who tries to flex about it. I personally don't see anything admirable in smurfing. Thank you for the information, though. I find it pretty useful, and I also agree that a lot of people didn't get punishment for their smurfing attempts. But I guess they played it more smart at last. They managed to convince the community to ban you, so good luck, have fun. First of all, I'm not flexing about it, I'm just being honest about it. Secondly, I don't think that other people should be punished for smurfing attempts, because I think no one should be, because if we banned all the smurfs, there would be like 2 teams left in the community. And they definitely didn't play it more smart at last, because the new order, as I like to call it, the new order banned people who are inconvenient for them, like myself. They didn't ban other Smurfs because they are not dangerous in terms of fighting for the Battlefront crown. So this is why I am on top of the Wall of Fame and others are not. And now you can't play tourneys anymore, even though you want to. GG. Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, Director Megumi. What do you think about WBK? Well, I think it was a trash toxic team and one of the most pathetic Smurf attempts in Battlefront history, thank you. Who is the best player in Battlefront ever? I think it's Hody, he's been proving this for 3 years already. Top 5 Smurfing players. Number 5. QI Johnny. Definitely not the best Smurf in Battlefront. He's been exposed doing this multiple times and has even attempted to Smurf in World Cup for the British team. However, it wasn't successful, just the same as trying to play with German motherfuckers team, which still remains as a perfect example how not to Smurf. Playing illegally for Wim is just another addition to this rich collection, which made me put this player on 5th place of the Smurfiest players in the game. Number 4. Teczki. A Smurf that hasn't been exposed for a very long time. It is possible you played against him more times as Barty than as Teczki. Maybe the Smurf CV of Teczki isn't that impressive, since apart from Barty he only played for DE and TR in Shin tournament, but participating in the most rigged match in Battlefront history makes him deserve the 4th spot. Number 3. Vrench. Barty is rather a small accent in Vrench's impressive Smurf career, because there is no doubt that his biggest achievement is playing multiple matches for Team Ventum as Vexer, without being exposed. Apart from that, Vrench also had an opportunity of playing for DE and TR, and participating in the most rigged match ever.
Where is respect for opponent? Do you know who we're playing? I mean, we're literally playing fucking Poland. They've cheated in tournaments for years. I'm not gonna fucking respect them. Why would I give respect to a guy that literally came in my stream chat and typed salty?
I don't fucking know.
Number 2. Nutcracker. The second Papa Smurf of Battlefront community was probably the most obvious Smurf in most of the matches where he was dedicated to his profession. However, nobody ever was able to prove that. Changing score of the entire most rigged match in Battlefront history by playing as Jaller is probably still the most iconic Smurf performance in Battlefront history. Little crimes by playing for 2SC undercover are not really impressive compared to the previously mentioned achievements. Of course, playing for DE and TR in Shin tourney is probably a duty for top 3 of this ranking. Does anyone remember a team called Lords of the Force? I'm afraid that the list of those achievements already took too much time in this Q&A video. Number 1.
You fool! I have 70 alternative accounts!
Did you register UFC for your tournament? No, I didn't. First of all, I don't see why would anyone think I would do that. It's not in my style and it seems like a completely unnecessary action. Secondly, unfortunately, I don't even know who did that because the email address was completely random under the registration. And first thing is that UFC in January, please. What is your best game ever? Well, I have great memories with Poland versus America match from the World Cup. I have great memories from Power Rangers versus Me, but I think the best game, like the biggest achievement I have ever done in Battlefront, was winning one 2v2 game with Wrench playing as Varti against Teczki and Hody, because I'm absolutely sure it was the most powerful team I have ever played against, and we managed to win one game on DMC 5-4, and I think this is the best game, and this was the best achievement in this game as well. Cargo drops on why? I think that's an easy question, but I'm afraid that most of the new generation players will not understand my answer. Well, of course it is Cargo, because Cargo is more emotional, that's the first thing. Cargo has more spirit, and I think everyone should know that. Cargo requires some strategy, meanwhile Robzone really doesn't. And Cargo is much more about team play, about tactics, and generally you are meeting your team better when playing Cargo. Everyone has a different role in your team, while in Drop Zone everyone has the same goal: defend the pot. Well, in Cargo, one guy is defending the base, the other has to take care of mid. The offense players often have to split up in order to defeat the opponent defense, and the objective in Cargo is moving, so I think Cargo requires a lot more thinking than Drop Zone, and it's not all about shooting left and right and burst fire with E3. Well, I feel kinda sad for the new generation players that they will never taste this Cargo Battlefront from the previous years. I recommend to try it in future, however. What do you think about people claiming all Power Ranger wins as cheated? Well, those people are completely mistaken, because actually Power Rangers is a team that was always absolutely clean. There has never been a cheater inside our squad, we were never ghosting as spectators, and Power Rangers never used any single Smurf in all Battlefront history. And in order to prove people who think that previous tournaments don't count, I did some research. There were almost 40 tournaments in Battlefront history, and interesting fact, none of those tournaments was won by illegal Smurfs. None of the winning teams in Battlefront history had Smurf in their team. None of them. So basically, if you are losing in the past tournaments, it's not because other people were Smurfing, it's because you suck, I'm afraid. Thank you. Here we go with purpose then, that's a lot of questions. Top 15 US and German players in history. It's impossible to do top players in history, but I will just mention some players from both countries that would be definitely in top rankings in their prime, because if I did top 15 players in games history, I would have to remove all players who stopped playing in 2017 or earlier, because the game improved so much. So players I'd like to mention here are definitely Fury, Soap, Rhodey, Bowser, Spatty, Phalanges, Strix, Nutcracker, and Tank. I think those are all players from these two countries that are really worth mentioning. Top 3 Great Britain players in history. Well, that's much easier, but I will still not mention top 3 in the game's history, because that would be unfair. So 4 players I'd like to mention from Great Britain would be Yolanda Larquana from NG, the A2ATC and explosive shot master. Fupayem, I think every British player should recognize this nickname. Starlita and Crusher Sky. Top 15 Polish players in history based on skill level or talent. Well, again, if I wanted to do top 15 in history, I would have to remove all players who stopped playing before 2018. So instead, I will just mention players who were definitely in top shape at some point in this game and proved themselves to be powerful in tournaments more than just one time. So here I'd like to mention Vicious, Darth Perun, Darth Mike, French, Kulawy, Miwovis, known to you as Avci, Fox, known to you as Purpose, Pulsar, Jaller, and myself. Well, for example, Neptu even though he's playing like 5 hours daily now, isn't mentioned on this list because considering achievements in tournament and the general reputation in the game's history, it would be just disrespectful toward other people on this list to mention him on it as well. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that Fishu should be also present on that list, because he has a lot of achievements in the game as well. Top 10 Polish players in history based on the best teamwork and playing objective. I already answered this question answering previous one, because I mentioned 10 players anyways. What could be your 4v4 dream team except Polish, Power Rangers or mech players? Who and why? Oh, that's a difficult question. But considering the best players who are in the game now, I think it would be most likely Soap, Atia, Nutcracker, and Demonic. You might be wondering about the last pick. Well, the guy kicked our asses in defense a few days ago in the tourneys, so I think he has a lot of potential to be one of the best players on absolute top, even in few weeks, if not sooner. So yeah, that's my pick. And the other 3 players are, well, basically the best in the game right now, who are not Power Rangers or are not Polish. And considering I'm both Polish and both Power Rangers, I can't play in the Dream Team, so that's why I place those four here. Best teams lineups that never played with each other, but which you would like to see in official match. For example, Power Rangers versus Ventum in Scorpio 3, Prime Mech versus Prime Power Rangers, etc. Well, the last match actually has happened back in 2017, even though a lot of people were saying that, oh, Mech is not in their prime anymore. That was not true. Mech was in their absolute prime back then, because they were far better team than in 2016, but the rest of the community simply learned how to play the game, and we actually won that match, so I think it already happened, and actually Prime Power Rangers are now. So if actually this match happened, I think it would be quite one-sided, I'm afraid, because like I already said before, 2020 always beats 2017 or 16. But coming back to the best teams lineups I'd like to see in official match, those are 3 teams from 2016, and those matches never happened with actual best lineups. I would like to see TTG with Pulsar, myself, Perun, and Dart Mike or Mivovis, known to you as Avci, against teams like Delta with Bowser, Mantis, Faultier, and Otistar or Mando, and also our Axiom Renegades with Deng, Soap, Cash, and Fury, I guess. Like, I would like to see all those 3 teams facing each other at the end of 2016, because in 2016 those were the only 3 teams that could actually fight for the second place in the entire community. I'm pretty sure about that, because TTG was on second place in tournament like 3 times, Delta also did this like 2 or 3 times, and our Axiom also did it like 2 times, so yeah, those were definitely the second place contenders, and I love to see all those teams face each other. Players with the most wasted potential in game because of error playing, early quitting game. For example, Bowser, Givil, Darth Mike. Well, first of all, I don't think Bowser or Darth Mike were wasted talents, because they achieved a lot in the game. Actually, the same for Givil. They all had opportunity to show their talents, and possibly all of them left the game in good moment, because probably with 2017 players they wouldn't be on top anymore, like it happened to Spatial Phalanges. So I wouldn't really call them wasted talents. But if we mention those players as wasted talents, then to this category we could probably also count Mech Puffy, Darth Perun, Pulsar, Mantis Offline from Delta, Angie Asivador, Motu Ducotera, one of my favorite shotgun players personally, Delta Jonas, Wimp Sky, Pegas, Fishu, Jan Brzechwa and Zbukson, definitely two wasted talents. They are actually wasted talents, not just players who quit the game too early. Max Armor from Wimk, It's AMC, I believe nobody recognizes this nickname, but he played with Fury in 2v2 in 2016. And 2 tier guys, Spiffens and Octrovus, the real ones, not the ones that played in Shin tournament and ancient tournament, those two guys were probably myself and Nutcracker, if I remember correctly, so I meant the real ones. What would happen if World Cup could be played in 2016 or 17? How many teams would be there and which of them could have been in top? Certainly it would go much different than in 2019. Actually, the end of 2016 and the beginning of 2017 was the absolute prime time of Poland compared to the rest of the community, and I think that was the only time in history of Battlefront where Poland could actually win the World Cup, because in all other years it was rather impossible considering how powerful players Germany had, or during Spatty's and Phalange's domination we also wouldn't be able to win. But at that time we would certainly fight for the win against America, because, well, they had Spatty, who was still out of range of the most players. They had Phalanges, they had Dunk, who was pretty okay as well, and I'm sure they would find fourth player like Strix or someone, and it would be hell of a team as well. But we need to remember that at that time Vicious was probably third best player in the world, and Darth Mike with Perun were definitely in top 10, so I think it would be interesting fight. And third place at that time would be probably Germany, because back then, there was no roadie. So basically we would have to watch Soap with Bowser and Fury carrying the fourth player, because if I remember correctly, back then Germany didn't have a fourth insane player, so definitely those three would have to do most of the job, and I think that would be why they would finish the tournament on third place, because they didn't have fourth solid player. And in the lower levels of World Cup, I think that Great Britain definitely wouldn't be on fourth place back then, because they completely didn't have any popular people at that time, apart from Yolanda, but he wouldn't lead his team to fourth place, I'm pretty sure of that. I think this fourth place would go for French team, because they had Eagle Squad and Native, and those two teams represented a decent level with four solid players, but certainly not the top ones. And below we would most likely have Scandinavia, because there was Trout and he was quite in good shape, the same as Max Armor. And yeah, I think that Scandinavia would get like 5th team. They would be like 10 teams in general in this World Cup, I think. But, their level would be just much lower than today. But in terms of top 3, it would be still the same 3 teams as in 2019, but definitely in different order. I'm pretty sure of that. Top 3 the most difficult things to master in game. Well, for me personally that would be burst firing with E3 and aim in general, but I think it's caused by my often breaks and long breaks. So I think taking breaks just makes those two things much harder to learn. But for other players in general, I think the most difficult things to master in the game is team play, using brain during the game, and most importantly knowing your role in the team you are playing for. For example, now you can see that 99% of tournaments are being played in drop zone, the same like packs, and people judge someone's skill by his KD in pack. This is wrong, because few days ago I was subbing in tournament match in Cargo versus Rice Pans, and Groni was subbing for their team, and he did like, I don't know, 37 or 40 kills to 20 deaths, and had the most points in the lobby. But they lost 8-2 and didn't deliver any single cargo, so was he useful for the team even though he had the best KD? Well, I don't think so. They didn't deliver any single cargo, which means his kills were useless. And now he's considered to be one of the best players in the community, so like I'm saying, I think this is the thing people are lacking the most, and most likely Cargo or even Droid Run tournament would verify the actual skills of each team. Well, I guess nobody cares about that anymore. Top 10 max players separately with E3 and C14C. God, what a question. Probably every top player right now plays with E3. Attia, Nutcracker, Tetsuki, Hody, Philly, Rody, Lodi, Demonic. Yeah, they all play with E3. What is there to mentioned, well, I guess they all know how to do it. I like Atiya's burst fire a lot because it's very regular, but I'm pretty sure that Holdy and Techki are quite experts at it as well. Well, Nutcracker used to have very crazy playstyle with C14C, and I liked it as well, but this question is impossible to answer. The most pathetic players in competitive scene based on their playstyle. Well, one of those was already mentioned in the video, and it is Grony. It's not like I have anything against him, he's just playing the game and having fun in it. That's what's the point, but I love the most that even when you touch him with your weapon and he's like 80 HP, he's immediately shielding and jetpacking to the other edge of the map and running away just not to die. And I think it's pretty pathetic because he's leaving his team to defend the pot 3v4 for like 20 seconds. And yeah, that's probably the brain in the game I was talking about. I always had a lot of fun about Benny's playstyle because when you watch his recording from 2018 mostly, he was always jetpacking left and right with the pulse cannon or cycler just to get epic kills, but in half of those situations he was getting killed midair and many of those shots were not landing. So yeah, other players considered him to be a top player just because of those montages that were often very effective, but the playstyle was not very useful for the team as well. Another player with playstyle that I always considered to be, like I said, pathetic was Starlita, but now he actually learned how to be useful for his team, and I believe he's doing a lot for every squad he's playing in, especially that he started doing objective a lot, and I think that's very important. That's probably one of the reasons why Great Britain somehow managed to finish World Cup on 4th place, but also before he learned to play properly, he also had this ape playstyle, jetpacking left and right for no reason, shielding for no reason as well. Just he was everywhere and nowhere where he was needed. So yeah, that was always funny, but now it's not accurate anymore. To be honest, I generally don't like playstyles of players who take advantage of their aim, so they are jetpacking in random directions and killing people from the air, but normally you would consider this type of action to be really stupid, which is why I like players who look around themselves, try to take an advantage of the terrain, try to hide or something. I really like to watch Techki, for example. If you watch his 2v2 gameplays, I think those are one of the best recorded gameplays in the game history. So yeah, those are gameplays I like, and when someone is jetpacking left and right and, you know, just killing people because he has aim and nothing else, then I consider it to be rather pathetic. The biggest tryhards in 220. Well, I'm not that much around in 220 anymore, but I've been for the last 2 weeks for sure, and the players I meet the most are definitely Atiya, Nasanyan, I think Starlita would be there, Crusher Sky, that's for sure, probably Philly as well. Well, maybe Rody, he's playing a lot, but he's playing sometimes with fun loadouts, so probably doesn't count. Yeah, I think those are... Oh, Grony, of course. Yeah, that's another one. And Nodi, he's playing every day as well. Yeah, those people are on the list. Top 5 players with the most annoying microphone in history. Well, I can't mention all players, but I can mention players that I played with, and their microphones are definitely annoying, and it will be Wrench. It will be myself, because I know you often can hear my breathing into my microphone during my matches. It will be Hody, because he was most of the time without mic at all, and this was the annoying part about his microphone. It will be Funky, the guy who played in TTG and later in Power Rangers, also in NG between, and Playboy, known to use as Shrody, I guess. Yeah, that's an annoying microphone as well. Which match from 2018 you remember the most and why? I remember a match between Astrowork Esports and Ventum the most, because I put a lot of effort to make this match look like this. and I knew that I'm basically controlling that match because back then who had Nutcracker was always or almost always winning the games, and also, well, this was the most expected Polish match in history, so yeah, that's probably why I remember it so well. And well, Ava finally won, no matter how, so that's another reason why I really remember it more than any other match in 2018. Top 10 Polish Battlefront players, where I already mentioned 10 players that were worth mentioning, but are probably not the best in general. But yeah, this question was answered. Your top 10 clans of all the time. Well, I can't really make a top 10 of clans of all the time because it's kind of impossible, but I'm going to make a separate video that will sum up all tournament top 3 places in Battlefront history for each team, and I think this will statistically verify which team is actually the best in Battlefront history, because this is probably the only way, and my personal opinion about who is the best will not change anything, because statistics are the only thing that never lies. But teams worth mentioning will be probably Delta, Araxium Renegades, NG, Power Rangers, Astrowork Esports, Meh, Wimk, TTG, 2SC, and Shax. Maybe Motu as well, as 11th, I don't know. How long did it take you to write Smurf Wars? Well, it would take a few hours, but I started writing this text in Italy when I was quite bored in evenings, and I continued writing the text in bus during school year every time I was returning from music school. So I think in general it would be around 15 hours, but in home up to 3, so probably not that big waste of time. Who is better, Vastar or Michał BR10? The second one. Who is better, Chanek or Stargaze? Chanek. Last but not least, little challenge. Name as many GF members as you can. Rodzyn, Bombur, Raimon, Sidious, Jarek. That's probably all I can mention from that clan. Mielnik. I think Mielnik, yes. That's 6. That's pretty good. So I guess that's it for tonight, guys. Thank you for asking so many questions. Some of them were interesting, some of them were not. Some of them were impossible to answer. However, I'm glad that so many people were actually curious about my opinion about some topics. And yeah, that is not the last video I made on my channel, because I really want to do some kind of Battlefront summary that will count all tournament wins and generally top 3 places of all teams and all tournaments in Battlefront history. However, I'll rather do it in a few weeks after another tournament will finish that I'm still planning to host. Thank you again